Subject. Hey, how you doing? Looking great. Yep, I see you. Let's go ahead and ground ourselves in all of our greatness. Just like take a shower in the bounty of how amazing you are. Seriously. Do it. Let's do that. Okay. So my great thing is and was this idea of like what entrepreneurship is, right? And how messy and sticky and nearly impossible it is. This is what I will tell you is super hard about being a full-time entrepreneur. Actually, I find it, and I know that this is what people always ask for when they want to start a business, when they want to turn their side hustle into a full-time thing. It's like, if I only had time. And I will tell you, time is not your friend. It just isn't. Until you get so good at these things that you can't deny it anymore, right? Like, what are you about? What are you going to do? And that's what we're going to dive into today. But my great thing from yesterday was like holding myself to those things. And I haven't done a great job of that in prior attempts at being an entrepreneur. It was like, oh, you have all this time, so everything can kind of just get pushed to tomorrow, right? Like there's no urgency. That's what's hard about entrepreneurship. No one is standing over you going, okay, here's your review this year. You didn't do X, Y, and Z. Here's your job description. Here's what fits in there. Here's what you should be doing. There's no guidance. Like you have full freedom, time, space, energy to run wherever you want. And the unfortunate thing is, there are a bazillion distractions. There are a bazillion and one reasons and things that you could learn, opportunities to learn, to add, to grow, to find new ways. Like, that's the hard part, right? It's always like, oh yeah, we could do this. Oh, tomorrow we could do this. And for me, that was the hardest part because I am here for it. If there is something new to learn, like, come on. I'm here. What? We need to change our entire strategy because of NFTs and Bitcoin and centralizing banks. Like, come on, I'm here for it. Let's do that. Let's transfer everything. Let's be there. Right? And good. Those things are good. But how much time are we putting into that? Where are other things falling by the wayside because of this new endeavor? And I'm a 7. An Enneagram 7, which means excitement for new things is my lifeblood. Okay? So running off as an entrepreneur is like the ultimate challenge because I love new and exciting adventures. In fact, I get bored if anything gets too mundane or routine. So you can imagine my adventure into entrepreneurship being this like endless list of possibilities and these super sporadic runs in any given direction. And so my first time venturing into full-time entrepreneurship, I faltered. And I think it was because it was all just too exciting and there was no real time and there was no real limit of what you could do. And that became very overwhelming. Extremely overwhelming. And I like to warn people of that because it's kind of like having a baby, to be quite honest, going into entrepreneurship. It's like there are just these unspoken pain points that like no one tells you about. They're just like, oh, what? Oh yeah. You know what? I forgot to tell you that you were going to bleed that much. I just assume. No one says that. No one says that. Until like after, and they're like, oh yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy how much you bleed? Isn't that crazy? And for how long? And like how big the underwear are? Like, isn't that crazy? Right? And like, it makes sense, right? It totally does. It makes sense that all of those things would happen after pregnancy, but like in your head, when you're not told those things, it blindsides you regardless. And there's like a whole list of things with pregnancy that no one really talks about that we should be normalizing. And I think it is getting normalized a little bit more, but like it's this hushed code. Like that is not a code that I want to be a part of. And this entrepreneur hushed code of like, oh, we all somehow get to making millions, but no one talks about this pain. Like, how do you actually do it? How do you actually structure your day? What are the things you're supposed to do? And you're like, oh, well, you'll know what you're supposed to do because they'll come up in your business and you'll just do them. No, you won't, because the list is unlimited. The list is forever undone. That's what's so complicated about it. You're never done. And as someone who now runs, so I have my personal brand, I have my startup Restory, which I'm working on right now. I have my husband's agency that he's starting to get going. And then I have my consulting business that I have a couple clients for that I'm working with. And like those lists will never, ever be done. There's always work to be done there. And so it's really hard to nail down what needs to be done, what is the urgent need right now, and how do you manage your days so that you're working to full capacity. So yesterday, it was like, okay, here's my list of 5 things that I am accomplishing today. And whereas normally I'd be like, ended up talking on the phone for an hour today, ended up, pissing away some time here doing X, Y, and Z, ended up doing this, doing that. Whereas usually I would do that and then I'd be like, we'll get to that tomorrow, right? Because there's no urgency. There's no real need to get this done. No one is standing over your shoulder and going, hey, did you launch the website? Did you? Just right. And if you have clients, that's a little bit different and everybody's structure is going to be a little bit different. But really, if you're just starting, there is no one pushing you. It's the same as like adopting a workout routine. Unless you go get yourself a personal trainer, unless you go get yourself an entrepreneur coach, that's why those things exist. Because what? Because like we just waste our time, right? When there really is no urgency, when we're just getting our body in shape, when we're just trying to lose weight, what is the urgency and what do we need to do to get it? This is where we lose. And so yesterday was the first time that I was like, here's my list of 5 things. I'm going to do these 5 things today. And some of my time got kind of squandered away throughout the day, which is pretty typical of me, of how I would spend my days, right? Like, oh, I see an ad for something and I'm like, oh, we need that. We need that for something. I don't know. I better go learn everything. And I have to train and find opportunities where I can explore those things. And yesterday was a great example. And so I'm getting better at tracking and blocking my time and making sure that I am in that moment. And I wasn't perfect yesterday, but yesterday was the first day that I rounded back to that list and I did not back down from the list. We completed everything on the list. Usually I'd round things to the next day. And I couldn't and can't operate like that anymore. Right? Like it's time to run, good people. And so I get to determine that list every day. And yesterday was the first time that I held myself accountable, made myself stay up. Like, I don't want to stay up. I want to go to bed. People, I wake up at 3:30. I want to go to bed. Right? And I was like, nope. This was on your list. We're accomplishing this. Right? So that's my great thing. We accomplished everything on the list. We really had no reason to. No one would notice if it was done or undone. And that's what's hard. And that is forever a complication of all things in life, right? Unless someone is holding you accountable, why would you do it? There's no urgency. There's no real reason to do it. That's why like people don't lose weight until they have like a near death hospital experience, because it's like, oh, finally a doctor's gonna hold me. There's a medical diagnosis. I've known this shit all along, but finally someone is gonna hold me accountable, right? I'm gonna have to be accountable to someone. Today we're going to talk about being accountable to yourself, and I think that's a really important shift to make. So go ahead and ground yourself in all your greatness. Just do it. Don't ask. Just do it. Okay. So today I want to talk about making your word impeccable. And this actually comes from the book that I started reading, The 4 Agreements, which is a really amazing book. Very short, quick read. I will actually probably start recommending this out of anything, especially for people who aren't used to reading. Reading is like a sort of hard thing to tap into for people, because usually it's on everybody's list. I want to read more books. Yeah, I'm going to read more books, right? And they have the stack of books and they don't read any of them. Yeah, this would actually be a really great one. Super easy read, super quick read. I think I started it. I read for about a half hour to an hour a day, and it's probably about a 3-day read for me. So, and I would say the last 2 days I've probably been more on the half hour spectrum. So it's a real simple read, real easy and applicable. I'll probably start recommending this book more. It actually came as a recommendation from my entrepreneur class that I took this winter through Empower Iowa, and it came from Maurice Davis, who actually recommended it, and I didn't get it until last weekend, and I read it this week, and wow. And so this is what I'm talking about. This impeccability for our word, and here's where I got into trouble with that. My word, super impeccable for everyone else. Right? Like people would say that, oh, Hanna, yeah, I don't know how she does things. Wow, Hanna, you really took the lead on that. You did that. You do a great job of that. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Wow, you're right. I do those things. Sheesh. And then when it would come to me and the things that I wanted to do, or the things that I thought were important to me, I would let myself fall. Right? My word would be impeccable for everyone else. And everyone else found me amazing. Cool. But I didn't find myself all that amazing. In fact, when I would actually claim things on this podcast or in a meeting with someone or somewhere, I would grow sick to my stomach because I'd be like, you know that you're not going to do that. Especially when it was things for me. Like, oh, I want to create these journals and post and publish them on Amazon. That would be a really cool thing. I love journaling. That is a part of my daily practice. I would love to put some of those out into the world. And if I say that, then I would go, okay, well, you're probably not going to do it. Can we stop saying stuff like that on the podcast? Because, right, like, you don't do it. What are you doing? And that's the problem, right? Like, only when someone would hold me accountable would I do it. And so when I was doing outward facing things for other people, here I am like, oh, I'm impeccable. I will follow through on everything. You test me. And then when I would come home with myself, when I'm building my own businesses, when I'm doing these things, I would fall short. I would send things to the next day. I would put things off and out, because there really was no reason for me to do them. And after I read the chapter on Be Impeccable with Your Word, I realized how very little impeccability I held for myself and the things that I found important and that I wanted to be about. Right? And how many of us do that? We do everything for our kids or our spouse or significant others or our workplace or our everything, fill in the blank, right? Like I was a coach for a while and it was just like, oh gosh, I don't know how she does it all, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, really cool, except for I had no idea who I was in the mix of those things. The only thing I knew to be true was that I was this impeccable person. Cool. But I wasn't impeccable with myself. I wasn't impeccable with the things that mattered to me because I didn't even know what those things were. And so we're making a shift, right? We're not allowing ourselves to carry that over. No more. Right? If I write on this list that this is what I'm going to accomplish, that this is what I'm going to do, then that's on me. Am I actually following through and staying true to the things I said to myself? Am I keeping that contract with myself? Do I find myself important to follow through for? Yes. Period. Are you as impeccable with your word to other people as you are to yourself? And probably not. Right? That's what I noticed. Oh my gosh. I'm putting myself completely last, and I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I'm a pretty selfish person. Like, girl gets a lot done for herself, okay? I'm not like someone who deprioritizes self-help or anything like that. Like, I mean, sometimes I skip a shower, but I don't think that's deprioritizing help as much as it is like I was just running rampant in schedules that were running my life because I was busy being impeccable to other people's words and not really knowing what it was that I needed to accomplish because I wasn't saying it. Why wasn't I saying it? Well, it got real scary and ran rampant and got crazy once in a while because it's like, Hanna, you have so many things to do. And for me, it was like, Hanna, you have so many things to do. Let's make sure that we're doing things for other people because that's the only place that you're really going to get recognized, right? And that's like a real hard truth to swallow. We talk about celebrating yourself and recognizing yourself all the time, right? But if we're not saying what those things are, if we're not holding ourselves accountable, nobody else is going to. And that can make it really hard to not just transfer out of those unrecognizable things in the beginning. In the beginning. Right? Like I have a list of things to do every day. And I would encourage you, gosh, I should really just do some free trainings on this, but I would encourage you to keep that list small because the list is crazy. Right? And it seems like, oh my gosh, Hanna, only 5 things? Really? That's it? Yeah. And I want to do those 5 things so well. Right? And yesterday I thought, oh, well, 5 things. That's not a very big list. Sheesh. Weak-ass entrepreneur. Really? 5 things? But I found that those 5 things, when I really focused on them, when I didn't like tap out and do Facebook and that, it was just that one thing. When I blocked in that time, I found that 5 things actually was almost an unreasonable amount. I ended up working until 11 last night, right? And that was something that in my past entrepreneurial attempt, it was like, oh, you're done. It's 5, you're done. No, we're not done until the work is done. What is the work? What is the work that we're accomplishing today? Hanna, if you get all your things done, go crazy. You can be off at 5. Right? Hanna, if you don't and you squander your time, you can't be off at 5. You're going to have to work till 11. You're going to have to work until it's done. That word to myself, to my businesses, I have to start holding myself accountable for those things. My word has to be impeccable, not only for everyone else, even more for myself. Like, I love all you people. I think you're the most amazing people in the world. I cannot say enough nice things about you. It grosses me out how obsessed I am with you. Stop. Okay? But like, if I'm not being true and impeccable to myself, then I am doing us all a disservice. Because like, oh, Hannah's going to be an entrepreneur. That's so cool. She got so many things. That's so amazing. Yay. I really want to talk about her. And maybe you tell your friends like, oh my gosh, this girl does this podcast. This is what she did. This is how she came back. This is where she's at right now. It's so cool. Right? And then it's like, okay, what's she doing next? I don't know. She said something about a book. I know that she started a company, you know? And how many of us just get stuck there in this sort of dream world where we never put any application towards it? Where it's just like, okay, we just keep talking about it. Yeah, I'm going to write the book. Yeah, I'm really going to write that book. I swear I'm going to put together an outline. I swear I'm going to do that. Well, like, what am I actually doing to do that? And the cool thing is when we block schedule, you can start to see where your time is. And so if we're not making as much progress on any given project as an entrepreneur, or even in your work life, if you're not making progress in any given project, do we need to shift more time to that? And you'll have like this beautiful makeup, and I'm obsessed with color coding. Like, it's gross. I can't even help it. I used to just geek out on school supply time because it was like, what? Pens? 5-subject notebooks? Get out of here. Trapper keepers? Come on. Give me more. What? The school gives us a planner and stop. There is not a ruler placeholder that actually like clips in to the rings. Stop it. Say it isn't so. All right. And then I'd like, even in middle school, color code my entire day. Make sure that I plan out every single hour. For a little while, I was planning out every single outfit, right? I'd wear the same outfits every day. Every day. Every Monday, we wore this. Every Tuesday, we wore this. Every Sunday, we wore this. I remember the outfit. It was a half zip orange skirt, mind you. Orange skirt with a striped orange top. That was like half zip mock turtleneck. Can't even. Okay. This was my power outfit. That was my Sunday best. That was living my best life, which who doesn't live their best life in a skirt? No one. Everyone does. There's not a person out here who doesn't. It's the best of every world. You get to look dressy, but then you're like, but I could also hit a home run and run around the bases. So skirt life. Okay. And I'm sort of geeked out on this, right? No question. I'm the biggest geek that exists, which is amazing, which, you know, that practice, being that person at my core, because that's just who I am, and I'm sort of obsessive compulsive about schedules and color coding and all those things. And the only thing that was falling flat there was that I'm really good at that, but I'm not actually practicing it consistently enough to see any movement, right? And I'm telling you, when your time opens up, or when you're given freedom, so maybe in your job, they're like, okay, well, you know, you make the call. What do you want your day to look like? Go crazy. And it's like, oh gosh, that's exactly what I wanted. Whoa! Is that what I really want? Did I actually ask for this? I didn't ask for that, did I? Okay, I did? Okay. Right? And that can get so overwhelming. And I actually find that there's more time than less. We just like don't hold ourselves accountable to the things that we want to accomplish, right? Like the word is impeccable for everyone else, but not for ourselves. Why? Well, there's people paying attention to the other things. Nobody cares if you don't take a shower. My husband cares once in a while, but usually we have to get to extreme measures for him to even notice. So like, nobody cares. So then why would you do it? Right? Why would you do anything? Why would you push yourself harder? Why would you even write down and sit down and write dreams? Nobody cares. And this is where the impeccability of your word to yourself matters. Because you matter. And when we kind of disempower and what was the word I was going to use? And we like avoid ourselves, right? When we take ourselves out of the account and we only serve other people, we never make ourselves a priority, the impeccability to ourself falls. And what does that look like? Not getting to the diet till Monday, not starting the diet till January, because why would we start right now? Like, yeah, I know, summer body, but why? Right? And I would just go ahead and encourage you, if you're ever thinking about doing a diet, to listen to my bonus episode, probably all the way back last year around October time, but it's with Mia Greco, and she's like an anti-diet dietitian. And I would strongly encourage you to never diet ever again. I don't even know why I brought that word up into this hemisphere. But go ahead and check that one out. It should change your mind. If it doesn't, please follow the anti-diet movement. Please read the book Anti-Diet. It will certainly change your mind and your life and your eating habit behaviors forever. Okay. But say that you're always putting that off, right? I would put off just starting this business because nobody cares. Nobody cares if I start a business or not. That's what's hard. That's what I tell people all the time about it being an entrepreneur. Nobody cares if you bring this to life. They really don't. Nobody cares if I would do this podcast, if I would stop tomorrow. Maybe a few people would care. They'd notice. But for the most part, nobody would care. Nobody would care if it ever started. No one would care if it ever ended. It would just end. Nobody cares. Nobody would ever care if I wrote a book or not. People start to care because they're like, I want that for you. And here's the thing. If I don't ever advance and do these things, I stop us all from what's possible. And so important that I start being impeccable with myself, as well as you start being impeccable with yourself. And you do not have to come up with a list of 5. If there is one thing that you want to do today, do not stop until it is done. And I am here for the self-love movement that needs to come in to this place. And your word, being impeccable with your word to yourself, is the ultimate showing of self-love. Right? And it sounds kind of mean. Like, oh my gosh, Hanna, really? You had to stay up until 11 last night working on this thing. That's not self-love, that's hate. No. It's love. I am loving myself enough to respect the things that I say that I want to accomplish. It's love. It's not pain. And I didn't wake up this morning like, oh, I'm so tired. I actually woke up this morning kind of mad because I think I turned off my alarm. I don't know what happened, but I was about an hour behind where I wanted to be this morning. And so we gotta make that shift. Holding yourself accountable is self-love. You don't have to do it in a hateful way, right? Don't be like, oh, we didn't get to that. Like, fine, if we need to move things tomorrow, but I am telling you, start practicing this in ways that are doable right now so that you stop seeing yourself lose here. Be impeccable with your word to yourself. That's probably the hardest thing about entrepreneurship, is if you're only impeccable to other people, you may never start your thing. And that doesn't just go for entrepreneurs, that goes for everyone. If you are only impeccable to your words, to other people's dreams that they have for your life, if you're only impeccable to those things, you're not going to get anywhere that's aligned with you or for you. And we got to start getting there. I just love you too much to see you do everything for everyone else. Have to start finding impeccability with your word to yourself. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Mm-hmm.